Hey, I'm Chris, I live in Las Vegas, and I'm a total gearhead. On my last video, I did a review of the Roland X synth, and one of the features on there was the D-beam, and I said I was going to go into more description of it in the video, and totally forgot because I'm totally in love with that instrument. I think I was more talking about all the guitar sounds on it rather than one of the features, like the D-beam. Now, since I forgot that, I decided to do a whole video on D-beam itself. I've got 3 Roland instruments that have that D-beam feature on it, and I wanted to show you what the D-beam does on each of those instruments and how to use it. Quick history about the Roland D-beam. From what I've read, the D-beam was created by a company called Interactive Light. I believe in 1996 it was bought, the technology was bought by Roland, and originally it was supposed to be a standalone instrument, much like a theremin, even though the way it's created, the way the sound is created is completely different than a theremin. But the thing is, it's infrared light sensor that you wave your hand over, and in doing this, that manipulates sound off of a synthesizer, whether you want to use it as a modulation, or if you wanted to change pitch, or if you could use it for expression. This is the implications that Roland had in mind for it, and they started to use this D-beam technology in some of their most famous synthesizers since like the late 90s. So I'm going to bring you through all the key synthesizer keyboards that I have that have the D-beam feature, and I will show you what they do, and I hope you dig it. The 3 that I do have that have the D-beam feature are the Roland Juno Stage. That was my first real keyboard. The Roland Lucina AX-9. I like this guy. It's got a weird D-beam. It can control filter and pitch as well. And the Keytar that I was reviewing in my last video, the Roland X synth, as well has a D-beam feature, and it's the whole reason I'm doing this video, because I forgot to mention exactly how it works and what it does on each of these instruments, especially this one last time. Now, starting with the Roland Juno Stage, I got this keyboard, I believe in 2009. I got a really good tax refund that year, and I went to, I believe it was a Guitar Center, and I asked for a stage piano, something that I could play standalone. I was feeling very romantic that year, and I thought that I'd buy gear and to play in music, like live. So they showed me this Juno Stage, and I was playing this in the display area, and when the dude ran in the back, he said that we don't have any more. We just had this display one. So I bought the display one for, I think, maybe 200 less than they were brand new. And it still kind of screwed me because I still had to buy like a Behringer amp, keyboard amp, just to play it at home. But I bought it remarkably for the D-beam feature. And after I bought the thing, I like never used the D-beam feature in any of my music like whatsoever. So here, let's check it out. Now on this keyboard, the D-beam is set off to the side. There's 2 settings for it. You could use it as a synth solo, as in you could play the D-beam alone. And what it is, it's this little trigger thing right there, which is an infrared laser that reads movements over it. When I put this in my studio, I have to make sure the Keytar on top of it, this little handhold, is directly above that little sensor, because if this is covering the sensor, the D-beam will just go off on its own. So basically I have to make sure that there's not too many things stacked on top of this keyboard with the D-beam button on, because it'll just trigger on its own. Now, there's distinctive sounds that this guy can make, You could use it for expression, or you can use it as a solo, like, distortion sound. That's what it sounds like to me. I thought it was distortion. This is what it sounds like. Yes, you are hearing that correctly. It's basically an infrared sensor that you wave your hand over to make dope sounds. Now, originally, I thought that sounded like it was, I don't know, a scratching records. So maybe techno would make it sound good. Now, if you could hear it, if I leave it on solo, it's so ultra sensitive that it's still going off. By the way, that's my cell phone is playing the D-beam. Now, there is a separate setting to the D-beam on this to where you could use it in an active play. So it will just add expression to whatever tone, whatever sound you're making out of your keyboard instrument. So this one of my favorite guitar sounds I'm about to play, and then I will show you how it will distort the sound when you wave your hand over the D-beam. That's normal. Now, very much like hitting a whammy bar, or very much like hitting your modulation like little knob. You can use your D-beam for extra expression on whatever notes that you're playing, if you don't want to use that solo feature. So another D-beam on another Roland synthesizer, the Roland AX-9. And as you can see, the D-beam is on the end of the neck. Supposedly easy for you to get a handle of if you're playing, but I'm not really sure. You've got two options. You could use the D-beam to control either the filter or the pitch. And we're gonna choose filter. Let's find a nice guitar sound, and so we found a nice guitar sound without D-beam. Now I've got it set to filter. Let's see what it does. Again, very much like a whammy bar. If you're, I don't know, killing some solo, the D-beam might be really, really cool. Honestly, I think it's really awkward to wave your hand over this while you're trying to play that. But I don't know, if you're killing it on stage, it might be really, really cool. Of course, the other feature, very much the same like the Roland Lucina. It can control pitch as well. That's without. Now with, nice. That is nice. That is like metal. Wait, I might need a drum beat for this. Hold on. As you can see, it is really fun. It's fun that you can interact with the sound. It's fun that you have a new little controller that you can mess with the sound that you're playing in real time. It's cheesy, it's kind of silly, but I myself am cheesy and kind of silly. Now, the last Keytar I have with a D-beam is the Lucina AX-9. It is a really cool little mini brother, sister, little sibling of the Roland X synth. What is it? It's a Keytar without a neck. It is a neckless Keytar. All it has is this little handhold thingy. And on the end of the handhold thingy, you have this little control pad. You have little buttons right there. And on the top is the D-beam. Now the D-beam, just like the Roland X synth, it can control filter, it can control pitch, or you can assign it to control something else. Now I picked yet another guitar sound that I really love in the Lucina, and let's see what it does. That's the filter. Let's try it again. Very much again like a whammy bar. Now let's listen to pitch. Without it, with it. Ooh. Very psychedelic. Hey! Hey, little puppy. What are you doing in here, little puppy? You can't be in the studio. Again, if you're killing it on stage, maybe the D-beam would be cool. I bought my Roland Juno Stage for the D-beam. Again, I totally never use it. I guess it should be a challenge to myself if I write something new, throw a D-beam sound in it. So I hope that clears it up to you on how and what a D-beam is. Again, created by Interactive Light in the late 90s, bought by Roland in 1997, implemented on Roland instruments from the 90s all the way up till now. I think even the new Phantom series has got the D-beam on it. Tell me what you think about the D-beam. Tell me what you think about a weird infrared light controlling your sound and controlling your music. Big hugs, health, and happiness from Las Vegas. Synth is life.